Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so hasn't been a whole lot of good news out there, and I don't know that this is considered good news at all. Steve Nash has been fired by the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the reason why um, I don't know if it's good news or not is because I have been calling for him to kind of be removed, I guess, as everyone more or less has in regards to the Brooklyn Nets. I just think that they didn't need a coach with a novice cachet at this point. Um, it's not that I think Steve Nash is not going to be able to continue to pursue coaching and somehow someday rather be successful. It's not that I don't think that. I just think that when you ask him to take on that assignment, um, you're asking for it because he's a coach who had not been an assistant coach before. So he has to go in completely raw, and then he has to have a timeline that's when now, and the expectations of making certain pieces come together that with Ben Simmons obviously in that structure, but even more so James Harden, Kyrie, and KD. Um, that's an offensive lineup, and they didn't really have enough defensive pieces to complement that. So they were kind of at a disadvantage to begin with, and then you consider just the overall lack of imagination that came with their offense at times that I saw even as late as my last time watching their highlights. It just became clear to me that their season is not getting started the right way. And while I know that they are a team that's probably best to reset their timeline, they're intent on winning now. So it seems to me that they were headed in a direction where it wasn't a whole lot of things that they could do to get better. So they need to just change their overall style of play. Hopefully, raise the value of some of the players on their team who are not getting good looks right now, and possibly get a chance to kind of make some moves that can bring them the pieces that they need. They do have Kevin Durant on tab for 4 years, and from where we're sitting, it seems like he settled into being with the organization. One of the things that he wanted the organization to do was fire Steve Nash, so they have taken care of that, and now they have to bring in somebody who can help them win. But it's not just about bringing in the right system. They really, really, really do need to get some more personnel, particularly some more size in place to help do the heavy lifting for the stars. Because if they don't, those guys are going to get worn down. Now, what I do see is a great jump in Claxton's production. So what I'm curious to see is, will that continue with the next coach, or was that something that we actually saw, believe it or not, unique to Steve Nash and the system that he was in? I'm inclined to believe that Claxton's going to play fine in anybody's system, so we can do away with that notion. But it's still in place because it's logical to think that players don't play the same in different people's system. We see it all the time, and they are getting a lot out of Claxton right now. So I just think that's a testament to his hard work and his natural skill set. And now you may even see more out of him, I think. Um, and that's what you're going to need to see. The Brooklyn Nets going to have to get more out of Sharp, going to have to get more out of Thomas, going to have to get more out of Duke and all of these young players. I cannot stress it enough. If I were a Brooklyn fan, my interest would be tied into seeing those guys' development improve. I know KD and Kyrie are great players. If they feel like going out and be superstars that night, perfect. If they feel like going out and sitting down and not playing that night, perfect. Because at the end of the day, it's not about anything other than establishing good within everyone else so that they can complement those guys so that they can be good enough to become champions. And unless they have those pieces in place right now, developing to that level, everything they got going on is just like the Lakers in my mind. You are a team that has a Rolls Royce in the garage of a apartment in the hood. I mean, it doesn't make no sense. Sell the car and get yourself something that can ultimately give you that foundation, a home of something that you can build so that you can give yourself what you need so that you can afford the Rolls Royce responsibly and not be worried about whether or not you have some place to stay. This, in my mind, is how the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers need to move forward. So while they want to be married to the idea of having superstars, they need to look around at all the teams around them and see that they're the only ones trying to do it this way, and recognize that superstars of tomorrow will be on those teams, and they'll have the stuff that they're missing. You know what I mean? They won't have the problems that you have, and we'll have the players that you want. So you got to do things the right way. The league has changed, and these two teams particularly are the two teams that have to make the changes in order to get up to date with everybody else. So I think the Nets have gone a long way in doing that, but they have to do it. They have to continue on this path. I don't think it ends with getting rid of Steve Nash. You have to continue to commit to doing things that ultimately give you that foundation. So I hope Josiah is seeing that for the sake of his fan base. I don't think they're very happy with what they're seeing, and I do see two superstar players that are playing at a very high level, but with not enough talent around them to make their tenure there make sense. So I think trading Kyrie Irving is probably something that can net them some picks. Obviously, we talk about the Los Angeles Lakers and their needs. I'm sure they would love to make a move. I don't know if Kyrie's price tag is the same as it used to be based on what has been going on in the news in regards to his name. I would imagine the Lakers are going to draw a hard bargain right now in regards to those two picks, to be completely honest with you. I would if I were Rob Pelinka. So this is one of those situations where the Nets have to try to shop their pieces. Anything that they have outside of KD and basically Claxton, in my mind, should be on the move. Or not on the move, but shopped for the right situation. And so, you just want to get your team in a place where they can have some size, some wing help. The shooting is there. I guess in my mind, if I'm just adding something to the situation, I definitely do not want to get rid of Curry if I can help it, because you want to maintain that shooting. Now that you're seeing Harris run around a little bit, he looks like he's getting in shape. I would look to move him. These are players that the league can really, really use in contracts they can really, really afford to get rid of. Maybe condense some of those contracts for some expiring contracts so they can see some cap space manifest over the next several seasons. Maybe this upcoming season become players in that. That's why I would want the Russell Westbrook contract if I were a Brooklyn Nets fan, because that would free up $47 million of cap space that I can get somebody really, really talented to come in and play with KD and Ben Simmons. And in my mind, maybe even look to, obviously, since everything's on the move, other than Curry and KD, move Ben Simmons. Move Ben Simmons. And I'm not saying you move him right now, because right now, from what I can see, his trajectory is going up. So if you wait maybe a couple of months, he'll probably be at a higher price tag than what you can sell him for now. Because I don't. It's either or. It depends on how the back's going, right? It depends on how the back's going. But as he gets in better shape, he's going to become more productive, because assists are going to become very easy to him, because KD's not going to miss, Kyrie's not going to miss. So at the very least, he's going to be very productive getting assists, which is something he's great at. So that's something I'm looking at. And the more help they get him defensively, the more likely he's able to not have setbacks with his back. Now, the shooting issues and everything that goes on with his mind, I don't think that this is something that's going to go away overnight, but I do think as long as he stays playing basketball, repeated basketball, he will work through what he needs to work through. This is just the first year after leaving the situation that was so intense. So you got to let him shake off the old him, be certain that he's not the old him, and then proceed into whatever life is going to give him. So that's how this has to go for Ben Simmons. And I'm happy that Kyrie and guys in the locker room are taking to him in a positive way, because the media is not going to. Brooklyn media is definitely going to poke at him just for fun. And so they just got to stay close and stay together. And moving Steve Nash is one thing, but getting the right coach in place is another. You're dealing with some very unique personalities, and they need somebody in there that they can take to, and somebody who's going to let them be themselves while still holding them accountable in a way that they can receive palatably. If you can't bring that special ingredient into that Brooklyn locker room, you're going to have even more unhappy KD and Kyrie. So I think that if the Brooklyn Nets are trying to help themselves, they're either blowing up their foundation or bringing to them the coach that would make those guys most happy. KD most happy if they're not going to keep Kyrie. But if they are going to keep Kyrie, then they need to try to get that extension taken care of. Don't have him going into free agency. Why have him into free agency? And so that's one of them situations where I just look at them and say, look, either you pay him or trade him. I've been saying that since the summertime, and I really think that's the way to approach this. You know what he brings to the table. You know how he's playing right now. So if he's not a part of your future, that's an asset that can net you something that you can use to get better. And so that's something that I look at. And if I'm a Brooklyn fan, I'm saying, okay, I like Kyrie. I want him on my team. So can we pay the man? Because we can't replace him. And if we're not going to do that, then let's get it over with. That would be my attitude if I were in Brooklyn. But look, if I were in Brooklyn, I think this is kind of ridiculous. I think all of this is ridiculous. You only got 2 max contracts that you have to hold on to. Like, Ben Simmons is somebody, unfortunately, you're stuck with. He's sort of like the great antithesis to Westbrook. And even, unfortunately, because of the presence of Kyrie, Westbrook can't get rid of Ben Simmons for you. You know what I mean? Like, that would be ideal if you're the Brooklyn Nets. Like, for me, if I'm the GM of the Brooklyn Nets, I'm calling the Lakers every day saying, listen, I know you want Kyrie Irving's expiring contract, but what I need you to do is take Ben Simmons off of me. And of course, as a Laker fan, I'm saying I'm not doing that. There's no way I'm doing that. I'm never doing that, and I'm continuing to hang up the phone as they do it. But the point is, if I'm Brooklyn, that would be the ideal thing. But Kyrie's leverage to the Lakers makes it so that's the salary they want to match, and the only salary they would want to match with you for within regards to the trade request. So, there's no better situation for the Nets than to try to get rid of Ben Simmons, and nobody's going to take Ben Simmons because his price tag is very low. And so then it leaves you with the need to make the deal for Kyrie, because you're not going to trade KD's 4-year contract. You just went through a whole summer where you tried to move it and you didn't even want to and couldn't. So obviously you're not moving that. And then the rest of your salary is just little stuff. Like I said, Curry and Harris, those are contracts you would love to move, but unless a team really, really needs shooting, like the Lakers, who are not looking to match salary for anything other than Kyrie Irving, here we go with the problem again, then you really don't have a need for those players at that price. See what I'm saying? The Lakers is the answer for all their problem. Only problem is the Lakers only have $47 million to match. We ain't got more trash to give you in order to take your stuff. But I think that's why those 2 teams met in the summertime, because I think this was all foreseeable. And I know a lot of people have forgotten that. I have not. Those GMs met in the summertime, and they were trying to discuss something, and whatever they discussed, I think they need to revisit right now. Whatever y'all was talking about in the summertime summit, yeah, that is a discussion that needs to come up, because you both have problems. You both have the solution to those problems. And that salary issue that we're talking about, you can add teams to that situation to help you with that. That can be managed. You get San Antonio involved. You get Utah involved. You get Indy involved. All these teams that want to tank, that have cap space, you get them involved. And you incentivize those deals by getting those Harrises and those Currys and these Nuns and all these contracts that you need to get off of these respective teams out of your books. And that way, you can find yourself free of all these issues, and both of these teams at the same time can somehow find a foundation from which to get out of the dumps, and then we can see a world where the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers aren't bad teams for no reason for the next 4 or 5 years. 2 of the best markets in the league will suck for nothing while we're watching games in Utah and Oklahoma City. This is a nightmare. You do understand this, right? So I think it benefits the entire league to try to help coerce the Lakers and the Nets out of the dumps from which they find themselves in, and the ineptitudes and mistakes made by guys who couldn't see the league changing as it was becoming what it is now. That is what it is, man. They were misguided by the media into mortgaging everything for superstars that they had souped up in their minds as players that could do everything, even though that's not what the science of bodies banging up against each other actually tells us. So they mortgage everything into these 3-player situations, and the rest of the team sucks to high hell, and they get these rookie coaches to come in and be the scapegoat for why everything sucks, when we really know it's just because people did the wrong thing yesterday and couldn't see how it would affect today. So that is why Steve Nash got fired, because he was hired to be fired. This was not ever going to work, and they knew it. They could see that on paper, mathematically, that the Nets was a failure. And so the best way to do it is not bring a coach in there who knew what he was doing, so he could look bad and further ruin his career. You get a rookie in there who you can just say, well, he just ruined it because he's a rookie. So, yeah, that's what I think is going on in both of those situations. But I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it because I actually like Darvin Ham. So, as a Laker fan, I'm like, look, everything else needs to go, including you, who need the excuse of the rookie coach to be in place. Keep the rookie coach. Y'all need to go. Right? That's where I'm at. But as far as Brooklyn's situation, it's entirely different. because Brooklyn's situation, Joe Tsai's in place, and he has a mindset, a certain type of mindset, where he's more so focused on different things outside of basketball. It seems like being focused on Kyrie's post and Kyrie's injection, and he seems to be centered on things that matter socially to him. And so, with that being the driven thing, I don't know what will make the team better or what he would choose that will turn the team around. That situation is kind of in the balance of what it is he wants to have happen, as opposed to the pressure that our organization is going to put, our fan base is going to put on the organization, like, as we always have, because of how we are. It's different. It's a different care, so to speak. We will riot outside of Staples Center before we let our team go to hell. So it's like they know that. They literally know that. And they've seen us do it before. But in Brooklyn, it's like, it's a new team. The roots are in Jersey. And it's like, if it fails, people are just going to be like, well, they'll move on. And so I don't think Joe Tsai can afford to have a indifferent type of fan base in regards to his situation. The team's too new. You got great stars in place, and that's why people are watching. So I know that's why he's reluctant to let go of those stars. But there are other ways to get stars. And with the location that you have, you can attract them. You're in New York. Even though Stephen A. complains about the traffic, I don't think guys care, man. So I think he should just redo everything, blow up the team. You know what I mean? You're in Rome, so do as the Romans do. People are they're not swaying into what it is you feel they should just because you feel what's right and what's wrong or what have you. They don't. It's a different world, and what we define as right and wrong is changing right before our very eyes. And I think it's a lot of people are trying a hard time to catch up. It's very difficult to catch up. And so I think that's what Joe Tsai is caught in between. He's trying to figure out, like, wait a minute, so that's not right? That's right, though. That's what they told me I should do. Yeah, but they're the ones we're now looking at. So it's like you don't just trust the people in regards to this. That's what I would tell them, because things are changing. So, yeah. Now, as it pertains to basketball, you just got to have the right people in place, man. As I said, the shark needs to be in place. And what I mean by a shark is your GM has to be cutthroat and precise about what it is that he does or she does. You can't just have a person come in and just not know what they're doing and then just be trying to move pieces around, having players in trades and stuff like that without considering certain specifics about the science. So if you don't have somebody who's an expert at that science, or a team that is an expert at that science that can help that shark execute those trades with great leverage, it can all go really, really bad. And the shark needs help. The coach needs to understand how to put the players in place to play well. The players have to know how to keep themselves healthy and do what they need to do to play basketball well. And it all has to come together so that you can be of high value to make trades. And so all of that has kind of been skipped around and jumped around, and steps have been skipped. And so I just think that's why the reset is necessary in Brooklyn. So that's it. Step 1, replace the coach. Step 2, I would normally say replace the GM. I would. But I don't know if that's the move to make. Like I say, in regards to every GM situation, it's more of a long-term thing. And when you're trying to undo certain things, it takes more than a year or two to get it done. Now, where the Brooklyn Nets are in their process, I do not know. And how they found themselves in certain situations based on the clock last year in the trade to make James Harden a Philadelphia 76er to bring Ben Simmons in. I don't know if they thought that all the way through, and I don't know that they had time to. But it's just one of those situations where it's like, me personally, I don't know that I would have traded James Harden at all. Trade demand or not. I think I would have let the trade. I think I would have let it happen and probably would have let him walk for nothing. And the reason why I let him walk for nothing instead of what they did is because if you look at what Ben Simmons actually is, he's a stranglehold. He's a cap stranglehold because of the specifics of his contract and how they were unable to move it when they were trying to in order to bring KD what he needed to keep from wanting to leave. And ultimately, his handicaps as a basketball player in the short-term needs of their team versus what it is he can provide, what it is they're demanding of him, what it is that the Brooklyn media may push upon him based on his mental health concerns. It's like Ben Simmons was not a net asset for the Brooklyn Nets. not in the short term. And everything they should have been doing was for the short term because they want to win now. He was a long-term piece. He was a project, and a very expensive one at that. A very limited, expensive project. And so that just should not have been done. That shouldn't have been done. James Harden leaving, what is the worst thing that happens? You have him for the playoffs. Was he mad because Kyrie didn't take the jab? So what? You stuck here, buddy. You stay for the playoffs, and then you see this thing through as to what you would have had cap space to bring yourself size, to bring yourself players, shooting, and all different types of stuff that would have made it so that KD felt a bit better. Maybe trade for some things that could have netted you some picks. Maybe make trades that can get you Royce O'Neal that don't involve picks. All these different things. And you look at Ben Simmons, you say what he brings to the table is nice. A couple assists, a couple rebounds, push the pace, a defensive player that's very gifted. But now you're asking him to do too much. He's being asked to do too much too soon, and the likelihood of him getting hurt this season is high. The likelihood of you needing to trade him and not being able to at a good price is high. The likelihood of other players needing to be traded because you can't move him is imminent. So it's like, is he really a net asset? No, not at all. But you got to be able to see all this and put yourself in a position to not make that move and then take the loss that comes with that and then go deal with James Harden and whatever comes. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot. So that's why you just say, okay, we've done with that. We've dealt with that. We're in this place. And now what do we have to do? Well, we can continue to run this team out there and hope for the best, or we can reset our situation. As to which I always say, it's best to provide yourself a foundation. You know what I mean? So this is what I preach on this channel. I know I sound like a broken record, but I hope somehow that through this angle that I continue to speak on, that the message gets to the real people who are in charge of these things, and they start to look at this a little bit more smart in regards to how they allow themselves to make long-term decisions under short-term circumstances. That is what I have to say. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.